Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Syracuse American 550s out of 15,000 for 5,000. A medical emergency. Captain is incapacitated. Request handling for runway 10 landing. American 550, Syracuse approach, roger. Altimeter is 3025. Runway 28 is also available if you'd like. The winds are currently 090 at tree. We'll accept runway 28 for American 550.
I wanna live. I wanna give.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. Crazy day. Just a crazy day. I'll get to it in a minute. Pilot, HA in the middle of a flight. Everyone's worst fear. So the co-pilot takes over, has to land in another city. That's number one. Just play the song. I'm not in the mood to talk for a minute. Then I was going to play this song, and I said, wait a minute. Looking for a heart of gold, heart attack. What is this? Now, the day began weird. I got to tell you. It started out weird. I got up at dawn. The sky was black. You know, they say it's always darkest before the dawn. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. It was pretty dark before the dawn, and I took a picture of the emerging dawn out of the darkness, and I sent out a Twitter message, dark day looming. Now, I don't know exactly where my intuition was coming from or where it was going, but it's a pretty dark day out there. I mean, there's, you know, the sun's out, the clouds are out, the East Coast is in a flood, the West Coast is in a drought. Obama is on the ropes, lying through his teeth in the showdown with Putin. He looks like the puny imp that he is. Do you know what's going on in the Middle East? Would you know what's going on in the Middle East when you have woodpeckers like Jake Tapperhead in the media? Men as unqualified as that, propagandists that wouldn't have even made it in the old Soviet Union, are now running the American media? Little men, small men, puny men, evil men. Russia started a bombing campaign a week ago. The liars in the American media as stooges for this corrupt, incompetent, anti-American government of ours, the stooges in the media had the nerve to tell us, A, they were only bombing friendly Syrian forces. Russia was not going to take down ISIS. And Obama gave a big thundering speech about how weak Putin really looked by attacking in Syria. Well, let me tell you what's really going on, because I'm paid to find the answers for you. I am paid to work around the clock to find the answers for you. And what's happened is ISIS is collapsing. The rats, the Islamo-Nazi fascist rats, are running like dirty little cowardly rats. The big shots with the guns who rape 8-year-old girls. The big shots who blow up churches, they're running like the rats they are from the Russian bombers and the Russian rockets. And ISIS is on the run. And I told you last week what was happening. I told you there's a war strategy. You don't take out your primary target first. You take out the secondary targets first. That's what Russia was doing, you morons, you. But you bought it hook, line, and sinker. Because Jake Woodpecker told you that they were attacking Free Syrian Army. Who's the Free Syrian Army? The al-Nusra Front? Other cutthroats and rapists and kidnappers and murderers? That's who you're cheering for? Well, let me back up a bit. Maybe this is too much for you on a Monday. There's an awful lot going on in the news, but the biggest story to me is that it looks to me, and we got to hope for it, it looks to me like Russia finally took care of business, because this lying, incompetent, anti-American thing in the White House lied to you for all these years, telling you he was conducting a campaign against ISIS. What campaign was he conducting? A campaign of charade, a campaign called Charade and Lies. That's the campaign he was conducting. He never wanted to take out ISIS. In fact, you want to go to the conspiracy side? Make my day. The conspiracists, and some of whom are not stupid, are saying that our government funded ISIS, let weapons fall in their hands, overtly gave them weapons, and was using ISIS as a factotum army to take down Assad, because we didn't have the desire to do it. Because Obama ran as an anti-war president. How would it look if he went to war? Okay? That's the conspiracy side. Something you wouldn't see on Saturday Night Dead. So Russia goes in saying enough is enough. We're not going to let these bastards grow. We're not going to let them get bigger. We're not going to let them gorge on human flesh anymore. That's it. We're going in. That's the end of the story. And the antiquated Russian Air Force, which we were told couldn't do a thing, oh, their Air Force is nowhere near ours. The antiquated Russian Air Force seems to have the vermin on the run. Now, we don't know how it's going to play out. Obama gave a thunderous speech, as I said, I think just this morning, boasting that Russia did this out of weakness, and he's the strong one, and that Putin's the weak one. Well, that's not how most people who see it are calling it. They're saying Obama is the metrosexual weakling, and metrosexualism plays in America, but it doesn't play with terrorists. The only thing that plays with terrorists is machismo. And as a result of Putin's machismo, the vermin are throwing down their weapons and running from the battlefields. But again, don't take my word for it. Wait until it appears on Jake Tapperhead's show or Wolfie Blitzer, and then maybe you'll believe what's going on is going on. And that's the opening to my show today. I had a crazy, great weekend. And it started weird today, I got to tell you, a gloomy black dawn. Sent pictures to my Twitter list, dark day looming, and the day is really not over yet. So let's go back to the song Heart of Gold by Neil Young, and then we'll do the other stuff that I planned on doing. I got a piece for you from Homeland from last night that was shocking, amazing. Normally, you know, I don't play stuff from television shows, but this is amazing. I'm a man who should live 1,000 years. Do you understand that I'm cursed by my own body in the sense that I can only live a certain number of years? The world needs a man like me for 1,000 years. I come along, and once in 1,000 years, a man like me arises. Now, if you say I'm in a crazy state, good for you. You say I'm a megalomaniac, good for you. You say I'm narcissistic, good for you. Yeah, well, that's what it comes down to. I'm sharper today than I was 40 years ago. My mind is sharper. I see things more clearly. I have a bigger message to put out there today, and I'm trying to do it the best way I know how, through art, through anger, through humor. Whatever I have to use, I need your attention. We are in such trouble as a nation when a fraud, when an invention, when literally a digital president can get away with what this creep gets away with, including having you believe, hoodwinking you into believing he was actually fighting ISIS when he wasn't, and that it took Russia to move in to show how fast they could take ISIS out. I told you the U.S. Air Force could have done it in 3 days. I told you that. The most powerful Air Force in the world couldn't have done it? Of course they could have done it. Now, how do I know that I'm right? I know I'm right because Russia's doing it. That's number one. But I didn't need Russia to do it for me to know I'm right. I saw it with my own eyes and added it up. You know, 2 + 2 = 4, not 7. According to Obama, 2 + 2 = 0. Government zero, that's what it equals. Sorry, I couldn't help but get it in there. Because when I get through with you today, you'll understand why the greatest book of our time, Government Zero, is a must for you to own. But I'm not here to sell you a book. I'm here to sell you on reality. Listen to me. Just listen to me. Even the HBO series Homeland, which is as PC as you can get, you know, for the last couple of years it was about the Islamo-fascists, and that's why it was such a great popular show. And then all of a sudden, Hollywood got frightened that they were being a little too real about the dangers that the 7th century vermin pose to the world, including all the friends that are being brought in here into America and sit here waiting to strike us, the infidels, and destroy this beautiful country that they're allowed to pollute. Even Homeland last night hit a new home run that Babe Ruth would be proud of. And I don't mean the show itself was so good, because I'm a little tired of her, the Claire, whatever her name is. I can't remember her name, with the hysterical woman thing, but she's really brilliant and tough, but she's on the verge of hysteria any minute. I got it. I liked that for a while. I'm not talking about her character. There's a little too much with the baby and the girlfriends. It turned into a chick flick after a while. No, I am talking about the Quinn character in HBO.
You've got mail.
Oh, would you turn that off? I'm talking to myself, and I forgot to turn off the sound of my mail. But listen to me. There's a character in the HBO show, Quinn, who's a thin, 35, 40-year-old guy who looks like your average kind of runner in America. And he's perfect for it because he's a CIA assassin. And he's stealthy and he's good. Well, in this series, later on, towards the end, and we'll get to it when I come back, Quinn is called into CIA headquarters in Langley to talk about what he did in Syria. And it's almost like in real time. It was so well done and so well thought out that it was like in real time today. So they asked this guy, what were you doing in Syria? And then they say to him, well, what was your strategy? What's our strategy over there? And he says to them, we have no strategy, sir. And so filled with the typical PC people you'd expect running the United States CIA and the United States government today. You know, women in admirals' uniforms and that kind of stuff. You know, like a college campus recruiting booklet. You get it. Incompetent, corrupt, politically corrupt to the core, incapable of doing anything right. And he gives a soliloquy that had me sit up in my seat. And I called my staff. I said, this was 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night last night. I said, grab that speech by Quinn, the assassin from the HBO series Homeland, where he talks about exactly what's going on, why we're failing, and why the other side is winning. And I'll play that for you sometime in this next hour on the Savage Nation. And by the way, so many things to say all in one thing. Donald will be on with us tomorrow. Donald Trump. Be sure to catch it because I'm going to ask him some important questions. And then I have other announcements to make right here on the Savage Nation.
Mr. Putin had to go into Syria not out of strength but out of weakness because his client, Mr. Assad, was crumbling and it was insufficient for him simply to send them arms and money. Now he's got to put in his own planes and his own pilots. And the notion that he put forward a plan and that somehow the international community sees that as viable because
there we go again.
There's a
Jesse
vacuum
Jackson.
there. I didn't see after he made that speech in the United Nations suddenly the 60-nation coalition that we have start lining up behind him.
You have
Iran
nothing.
And Assad make up Mr. Putin's coalition at the moment.
Wait a minute.
The rest of the world makes up ours.
What coalition? You have a coalition of idiots. A coalition of dunces, a coalition of sissies, a coalition of ninnies, a coalition of people scared of their own shadow. You and Cameron are a coalition? What coalition? What have you done to stop ISIS, you liars, you? Putin's doing what the world wants done. That's why he's doing it. We don't care about Assad one way or the other. See, we're not on the side of Assad. Don't get us wrong here. But we're against ISIS, the worst scourge since Hitler. And that's why Russia is now the hero of the world. Wow. Unbelievable how people don't see this. I don't know how dumb people can be. I didn't know America was this stupid. I mean, I know that in the 1920s there was a writer who said never underestimate the intelligence of the American people. Actually, I think he said never overestimate the intelligence of the American people. Yeah, I think that's what he was saying. But I had no idea it would get worse. And it has gotten worse. So here we are, and that's a big story. So let me just jump right to this. So last night on HBO, Homeland, Peter Quinn, the assassin, is brought to the CIA headquarters in Langley, and he's asked if it's working, the strategy in Syria. It's so real that I'm playing it for you now on clip 1.
You said a program should be renewed. I'm asking, is our strategy working?
What strategy? Tell me what the strategy is. I'll tell you if it's working. See, that right there is the problem because they have a strategy. They're gathering right now in Raqqa by the tens of thousands, hidden in the civilian population, cleaning their weapons, and they know exactly why they're there.
Why is that?
They call it the end times. What do you think the beheadings are about? The crucifixions in Deir Hafer, the revival of slavery. You think they make this up? It's all in the book. Their book, the only book they ever read. They read it all the time. They never stop. They're there for one reason and one reason only, to die for the caliphate and usher in a world without infidels. That's their strategy, and it's been that way since the 7th century. So do you really think that a few special forces teams are going to put a dent in that?
Amazing writing, astounding writing. I mean, it's a character that I could have written into one of my previous novels, and it's certainly the message in Government Zero, but it gets even better. How many months or years have I been telling you that they're reading their Holy Quran, which tells them to kill the infidel wherever they meet him, and we're bringing them in by the hundreds of thousands? We are committing national suicide. I can't put a ribbon around the insanity of this government. Listen to the next little piece from Homeland.
Well, what would you do?
You offering me a promotion?
I'm offering you a hypothetical.
200,000 American troops on the ground indefinitely to provide security and support for an equal number of doctors and elementary school teachers.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Then I better get back there.
What else? What else would make a difference?
Hit reset.
Meaning what?
Meaning pound Raqqa into a parking lot.
Okay, does that say it all? So Obama goes in on tiptoes, talking loudly, carrying a limp stick. Obama goes in talking loudly, carrying a limp stick, does nothing to ISIS to degrade them. Nothing that we know of. They've been growing. Who can argue with me? Hello, raise your hand, fools. Raise your hand, all you slavish worshippers, you fools, you. You're going to tell me Obama's success in Syria is evident? His success against ISIS is evident when they've grown, they've metastasized like a cancer, taken over territory larger than that of Great Britain? No, it's a complete abject failure, or he's enabling them. It doesn't matter. Russia goes in a week, they're degraded. They're running like rats that got sprayed with a toxic poison. Like warfarin came out of the sky. So, my friends, these are strange times indeed. Russia should be our ally. Instead, your sick, psycho government has turned our natural ally against radical Islam into an enemy. That's the sorority. That's Obama. That's government zero. No strategy whatsoever. You know, yesterday, well, I won't go into yesterday. I'll read you a haiku. Daughter, granddaughter, house full of dogs, Chinese food takeout cartons. The day started weird. That's all I can say.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage.
My heart to get out. I don't know how to get it all out at once. I'm trying to contain it, constrain it, and use it like a laser beam. Just play the music for a minute, that's all. Guess you are back now. So Obama says Putin, Mr. Putin. I say Putin, because it rhymes with Rasputin. It's like another word, guitar. No one knows how to pronounce that country. Gutter. They used to say gutter. Then they said, we can't call a country gutter. So they're Qatar. It's like bad marketing, man, a country name like guitar, Qatar. People trip on the word of your country. How good can that be for business? Where are you from? Good gutter? So you got to change the name of that country. It's like, okay, so Arabia's taken. Can't name it Arabia North or Arabia East. What can we name it? The new, I don't know, something new. Give it an English name. Hire a marketing company. Change the name of your country. Speaking of marketing, this just came in from TalkStream Live. And look, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Someone else? My ratings are so high in streaming radio, it's off the charts. It's Babe Ruth. Michael Savage has a 27 share of talk radio streaming audiences. Do you know what that means? It's the highest ever. Savage takes the top spot once again, further extending his number one streak with massive margins over all other talk competitors, followed by Rush Limbaugh at number 2 with a 13.9 share. Now, this is an historic statement I'm reading to you now in talk radio. Because everyone says, oh, talk radio's this, talk radio's that, talk radio's this. You know, what do you think, Zuckerberg controls this? Zuckerberg doesn't control this. You control this. So I want to thank you for that. And I'm the only one promoting my show, so you got to understand how hard this is. And that's all I'm going to say on it. I want to go back to the war against ISIS. A friend of mine sent me this from veteranstoday.com. Russian airstrikes continue to pound terrorist targets. No, it's not a Russian front group. It's a U.S. veterans website, moron. Are you ready for this? Thank you, Mr. Putin, for finally doing what others have been paid to do but chose not to do. Russia continues to roll out its bombing campaign, putting on display for us all the systematic destruction of terrorist infrastructure prior to a ground offensive by the Syrian army in the future. The U.S. coalition is fuming at the elimination of its non-IS terror groups that it would prefer to be left untouched to continue their terror rampage while fighting the Syrian army. Did you hear that? What is at stake here is the potential retreat of these terror groups. But where would they go? Turkey would be open, but it would hurt terrorist recruitment if they went there. And if they moved into Iraq, they would, of course, create more problems there. But they would be more out in the open for airstrikes. We have seen the Russians already take out one retreating convoy in Syria, something the U.S. coalition rarely seems to be able to do, despite its expensive total battlefield surveillance, which the taxpayers have funded with deficit spending. Once the main ground assault begins and the IS fighters know their ammo dumps are gone, including hopefully their tow missile stockpiles, which they have been saving to destroy the Syrian armor. They will need continuous supply columns from Turkey and Saudi Arabia to sustain them. The Russian air power will then switch to hunting and destroying these columns en route, plus giving close air support for the Syrian army. Will the Saudis and Turkey commit their planes to air cover for their terrorist units in the field? You understand what they're saying here? Saudi Arabia and Turkey, will they commit their planes to cover their terrorist units in the field? Will the U.S.? The White House and Pentagon have already made ridiculous statements about the Russians not playing fair by attacking their terrorist proxies. Will the Israelis commit their planes? Would anyone dare to attack the Russian and Syrian air bases with planes and missiles? How would Russia respond if someone actually did? The big joke here is we may see the Russians tip the scales of the battle significantly at a tiny cost to what has been sucked out of the American people for their make-believe U.S. effort, which still seeks a military victory over Assad. What will the American people have to say about that when they figure out, those still asleep, that much of the war on terror has been corporate welfare to some of the major defense companies? Thank you, Mr. Putin, for finally doing what others have been paid to do but chose not to do. Jim W. Dean in Veterans Today. And now I want to segue to something that's very important. Very important. It's a chapter in Government Zero entitled Zero Strategy Against ISIS. And I want to read it to you. I want to read you a few of the headlines, rather. I'm not going to read it to you. My chapter, Zero Strategy Against ISIS, says it all. See, I've been on to this for at least a year. Zero Strategy Against ISIS. 1, showing our hand. 2, the America Obama loves. 3, what's in a name? Undermining intelligence. A Hobson's choice. The enemy's within. Where is the media? The new good Germans. Islam's 1,000-year war on the West. Direct action for a nuclear Iran. Denying the global threat. It's all in the chapter. And I don't want to read it to you right now. I'm going to wait. You'll buy it, then we'll read it on the air. I'm not going to do it. Buy it on Amazon. Make sure you get the copies while they're out there. I don't know what's going to happen with the book. I don't know what's going to happen with the world, but I do know this. I do know that Russia's taking care of business, and we're not. And it's showing America for what it is. And it's sad to say that most Americans today who are patriotic are actually cheering on Putin now that he's doing what we've all wanted to be done to ISIS. Now, again, you could cheer on Putin for his destruction of ISIS without cheering on Assad. Do you understand it's not one and the same thing? Because my suspicion is that after he cleans things up there, the mess created by Obama, I believe that Assad will be relieved of his duties, to put it to you that way. He will go. They'll put in another leader, another puppet, just like we used to do with Iran or whatever. They'll put in a puppet of theirs, but it won't be Assad because he's too unpopular. He divided the people. And then they'll probably partition Syria into sections with different world powers getting the spoils, as they did to Germany, but in probably 4 or 5 partitions rather than 2. That's probably what's going to happen. 855-400-7282. Putin or Putin is the answer, is the question. There's other stories that caught my eye that have absolutely nothing to do with Russia. Here's one that caught my eye. I saw it 2 days in a row. Here's a woman, a doctor in New York. Doctor met with Facebook friend, used cocaine before death, sources say. I was reading the Post. So here's a good-looking, thin, blonde doctor from Long Island, 38 years old, top credentials as a medical doctor, dermatologist from Manhasset, Long Island, married mother of 3, with a husband. She goes into Manhattan. Honey, I'm going to meet some friends for a night. They find her in a doorway, dead. 2 days later. Now they find coke in her system. Servini, a married mother of 3, had met up with the producer, Mark Henry, who was also married on the Lower East Side, and they went to the Chelsea apartment together. Servini used cocaine at some point before her death. The building resident described the frantic scene of paramedics, blah, blah, blah. She came out topless. Her face was white and her lips were blue. They were doing chest compressions. The man standing next to her was pacing. He looked suspicious because he was pacing indecisively. Okay, you can put the pieces together of this story. Girls just want to have fun. Crazy woman went nuts. Party girl couldn't take the constraints of her perfect life. Who knows the answer? All I know is this. Here's a woman. Could you imagine how hard it is to become a doctor to begin with? How hard is it to become a doctor, to get into a good medical school? She goes to one of the best medical schools. She has a booming practice on Manhasset. Lovely children, great-looking husband, beautiful home. But it wasn't enough. So where does she turn for her satisfaction since she can't get no satisfaction? Drugs, sex, and rock and roll. It's that simple. And where do drugs, sex, and rock and roll lead her, my friends? The same place it leads everybody. To hell and not back. It's that simple. You know, the wages of sin is death. It's not the wages of sin are death. That's wrong. Read the Bible. It says the wages of sin is death. And we all know it. We fight it every day, all of us. Everyone is fighting doing something wrong, whether it's eating a chocolate cake or doing something worse. I've told you that. So no one's above it, and every one of us is no angel. Let's be very clear about that. But this story is so incredibly sad for people out there who are tempted to just cross over to the dark side for just a little while. Because there is no little while on the dark side. I got to tell you, it's very hard to come back from that dark side. Ask anyone who's ever gone there if they could easily step back from the dark side and just take the LIRR home and clean up in the bathroom and come home and say, "Hi, hon, I'm home." Doesn't often work out that way. And so here we are. I mean, we're attacked from within from the drug epidemic. I mean, we have an epidemic in this country of drugs that is so big, and the only reason you don't hear about it is because most of the news people are on drugs. Oh, I don't mean they're cokeheads, don't get me wrong. I'd make a fair estimate, and I would just bet, if I were Jimmy the Greek, that the people you see are all cleaned up on TV with the nice mustaches, if they have one, the nice suits, the perfect tie. Drugs, whether it's prescription or otherwise, a high percentage, let's put it that way. We can't make an exact percentage. High. In order to maintain the lie, in order to maintain the front, they're stoned out of their minds. That's my guess. So that's why the news is what it is. It's garbage. It's garbage news. There's no other reason that a show like mine thrives. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? Yes, I'm telling you how great I am. Yeah, you read the message. Between the lines. No, I don't use drugs. I struggle with depression, but I have many methods of fighting depression other than using drugs. The main thing is my radio show. I live for this show, and you can hear it. You can hear that when I get on the air, I am walking on a high wire that is real high, and that's my high. And for 21 hours, I live in hell like the rest of you. But for 3 hours, I fly like an eagle. And I use these hours in flying like an eagle to try to bring you to a level where you can look down on what's going on in your world. That is what I'm doing. And I do it every day. And God has given me this ability to do it. He's given me the voice. He's given me the heart. He's given me the mind. He's given me the age. He's given it to me all on a silver platter. And I don't intend to squander it by getting up here and talking about irrelevant things on a regular basis. I'll do it once in a while to change the pace, break it up, break up the monotony. But I'm 24/7. I'm a 24/7 guy. I'm on 24/7. Yesterday, things hit a new bottom. And I wrote a little story to myself. One line I wrote. If floors had locks, I'd seal mine shut to keep from falling into hell. That gives you some idea of the day I had before it became a better day when I saw my granddaughter. And then suddenly there was no hell, it was all heaven. To see a little child come out of a child you created is something you'll never understand until you've done it. And then when you do, you realize why people kill for their family. Why people kill for their family. Why people kill for their family. Why people kill for their family and then their neighborhood and then their nation. And that's what I'm talking about, which is why the left has gone after the building block of our nation. They have attacked the family from the get-go. That's what it's all about. They took the church apart. They took the nuclear family apart. They take the children's brains apart, and that's how they destroy a nation. That's my perspective. And that's our battle. That's our daily battle. And don't forget for a minute, you are in a fight for your life. Whether you are, let us say, a family man, and you have some children, maybe younger children, you have a road ahead of you that is the hardest road you could ever have. And I'm speaking directly to young families out there. I'm telling you, it's the hardest road you could ever go down. There's a lot of young men who listen to this show. I know what my demographics are. And I know a lot of young guys listen to the show because I'm the uncle that they wish they had. The uncles are gone. They're nowhere to be found. But the fact is I'm the uncle of the airways, if you want to put it that way. I won't say I've been around the block or I've been to this rodeo before. I mean, those are old pat phrases, but both are true. And there is a certain thing about having been there for people who are listening. And as Hemingway said, the truth has a certain ring to it. So let me go on now with my little soliloquy. The hardest thing a man can do, the toughest thing a man can do, is be there for his family. Do you know that? There's no harder job in the world. Oh, anyone could do it for a day or a week or a month or a year. Most guys won't do it for that long. They're afraid to have a family. Men who consider themselves strong or paraglide or whatever, they still don't have the guts to live with a woman and have a family. They don't have the guts for it. They can't commit to it. They won't commit to it. And that's why the entire country is falling apart. They don't have the guts for it. Why? I don't know why. I can't give you the reason why, nor do I have a fix for it. All I can tell you is that's why the nation is collapsing. That's why it's falling apart. And I would blame the ACLU and the media for doing it. I'd blame Hollywood for doing it. If you wanted me to say who's responsible, I'll tell you it's Hollywood and the ACLU. They have gone after the family tooth and claw for 40 straight years. 40 straight years. Tooth and claw against the family. By the way, in this big campaign that we're watching for the presidency, including the witch on the other side, the witch on the left, have any of them ever talked about family values? Not even Grandma. Grandma hasn't even talked about family values, that hateful thing. Do you understand the trouble we're in? That family values have become dirty words? I'll be back. American Airlines flight from Phoenix to Boston, heart attack. Co-pilot has to take the plane down into Syracuse. Happened 7 o'clock this morning. I got some of the stupid things say. Well, he died doing what he loved to do? Yeah, I always wanted to be a pilot and have a heart attack with 300 people aboard. That was on my bucket list, man. What kind of stupid statements do people make when someone dies? Can't you have any respect for the dead? Yeah, he's doing what he wanted to do. Wanted to fly a jet and have a heart attack with 147 people aboard and give his co-pilot, almost give him a heart attack. He couldn't wait to do that. What kind of stupid statement is that? He died doing what he wanted to do. I guess people don't know what to say when they die, when someone dies. So they get out the balloons and the bear and the teddy bears. That's the American way. A society devoid of religion, that's why you see the bears and the flowers on a doorstep where the pool of blood was. That's all. No religion. There's no God. So you may as well put like a teddy bear and a flower on the ground, since you have nothing to pray to anymore. That's the paganism that the Bible warned you against. Here it is, come back to life. You know, every time I see a death, and I see the flowers and the balloons and the bears, I say this is exactly what religion wiped off the earth. Worshipping of a stone or reptile snot. It's the same thing. What kind of stupid world are we living in?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
There's something
Be too slow for afternoon drive on the East Coast. Midday live on the West Coast. There's so much going on in this weird day that I figure slow is good. Yesterday in San Francisco, there was like 700,000 free concert. Mostly this, mostly bluegrass. I don't even know what bluegrass is. I have no idea why they call it bluegrass, because I was looking at the musicians. It was like all over the map. I mean bluegrass. That means Kentucky, doesn't it? Kentucky bluegrass. So what's the music? What does bluegrass mean, Robert? I don't get it. This is not bluegrass. I mean, Neil Young isn't bluegrass, is he? He's like it's a family show, sorry. But here we are. You know, I did a perfect hour. Here's the thing about radio. So 3-hour show. The first hour was so perfect. I got a perfect ear for my own show and radio in general. It's like a musician knows his own music. From the minute I started that hour to the last syllable that came out of my mouth, it was one of my most perfect hours. I don't mean in terms of insight, it was there, but in terms of audacity and delivery, it was really on the top of the world. So now it's hour 2. Now, how do you follow an act like that? I have to follow my own act? It's impossible. It used to be like, how could you follow an act like that? It's like you get up at a big stage, and the opening act was so good that the lead guy doesn't know what to do because the audience is just, they're wrung out. He wrung them out. I mean, their emotions are gone. So now I got to follow my own first hour. It's impossible for me to top it. But I'll try it. Which means I have to start on a complete different tack, which I will do. So I said to you it was a weird weekend for a number of reasons. So let me review the week. No, I'll end the weekend instead of reviewing the weekend. It ended good. It ended with I don't see my granddaughter much. They live far away, and they came down. It was only like a shock visit. So one night, one day, one night. And she's 2 years old. It's unbelievable. So being doting grandparents, I mean, we got the biggest toys you could ever imagine. Like big, like a giraffe the size of a man, a lion the size of a man, like toys like that. Like, what could you do, you know? So you got to understand there's 3 dogs running around the house and the baby. And, you know, if you're a parent or grandparent with young children, you know what I'm talking about. And everyone knows what that feels like, a house full of love. It comes down to that. Dogs bring out love in us, right? What do we have a dog for? Because the world is so mean and horrendous that when we're alone, we let our softer side come out with the little animal. That's why you see tough men with tattoos who can break your neck by looking at you walking around with tiny dogs now. Because the women are mean to them. They have no one to turn to. I'm not blaming women. Don't jump already. The women have had to get tougher in order to survive in this country, too. So they've gotten so tough that the men are afraid of them. So now they have a dog in their hand, a 3-pound dog. That's what you see. I used to see big men with big dogs, and I see big men with little dogs. And you want to hear something interesting? I have a small dog. You know who likes them most? I see a lot of Mexican guys. Really tough-looking guys. They love this dog of mine. It lights their faces up. My dog makes everyone smile. Homeless people who hate the world like him. Race doesn't matter. Everyone likes him. It's the same thing, man. So the dogs, everything was good yesterday. Ended with the Chinese food in the containers. It's a metaphor. You know what I'm saying? A house full of Chinese food in containers is a good thing on a Sunday. But then, here we are. The day before, I planned a movie we're doing, a small movie, which I'm going to have on the website for you for free on October 26th. I've been trying to put together a video crew, and I had a very productive phone call about it yesterday. And I'm going to do a 15-minute filmed interview. Me and my morning host on KSO, Brian Sussman, is going to interview me. And this is the thing, is that after that interview, which is going to be posted on my website on October 26th, after that, we're going to show you the 5 winners of the scholarship fund, like for 30 seconds, a little bit of that, to show you why, tell you why. And then a half an hour of that, we're going to film me walking around my studio in my house. We're pulling back the curtain to show you where I do my radio show. Many of you think I do this radio show in a radio station. I got to tell you, I have 6 home studios in various parts of the country. And I'm in one of them right now. And most of you would like to see it and see where I work, where I wrote the book, where I wrote Government Zero. I'm going to go around the studio and show it to you. I'll show you some of my watercolors I've been talking about. It's one of my hobbies, not a big deal. And you're going to get a peek behind the curtain. And that's what we're doing a video on. Now I'm trying to put that together. That was Saturday. It's all going to be filmed this next Saturday. And it's the first in a 3-part series of videos showing you about Government Zero. And it's going to be 3 5-minute pieces that we're going to put up for free on michaelsavage.com. So I'm working on that. And I'm working on a number of other things. I'm not trying to tell you how hard I work. That's not the point. Work is not hard for me. Without work, I would have been dead a long time ago. Work is the only salvation. You ask anybody. Rodin the sculptor is one of my great heroes. And, when I was in my 40s, I didn't know which way to go in some ways. Things weren't working out that well. I found a lot of things that kept me going. One of them was work is the only salvation. Work, work, work. It's true. I'm just not one of those people who can relax by doing nothing. If you can, God bless you. If you could just lay back, sit in a beach chair and get drunk on a vacation, hey, all the more power to you. You know what I'm saying? Big world, do what you want. You're not hurting me. I can't do it. Maybe I did too much of it when I was young. When I was 18, 19, I could party. I knew how to do it. I know how to go to, hang out with my friends. do nothing, just drink alcohol on a beach. We did it. But at a certain point, you just can't do that. What's the point? So without going further into that, so that was Saturday and Sunday. And there were other highs and lows. I was extremely emotional this weekend. There's something going on in the moon, something going on in the stars, something going on with the tides. And as I said to you, yesterday afternoon around 3 o'clock, I had taken a nap. And I woke up and this thought was in my mind. If floors had locks, I'd seal mine shut to keep from falling into hell. Why did it come to my mind? I don't know. What do I know? Subconscious? Many years ago, I had a friend. He's a wonderful guy. I loved him. He died a number of years ago. He was a parasitologist. He was way into, Marburg. He was into all these diseases like Ebola in Africa. He was a malariologist. Great man. I loved him because he had a joy of living. Classically trained, London School of I think, tropical medicine. Top of the scale. Great guy. He was originally from New York. Down guy, just simple guy to talk to, but well-educated, and never forgot his origins and knew how to have a good time. So he once said to me as he got to know me, he says, Michael, he says, the thing about you is that there's no barrier between your conscious and your subconscious. I said, is that a deficit, or what are you trying to say? He said, I don't know. He said, I don't know how you do it. He said, I don't know how you can handle it. I said, well, that's my problem. What are you worried about? A lot of people are afraid of what's inside them. And I'm not here to lecture you and say, let it all hang out. I didn't say that. But if you want to be creative, you better learn what's inside of you, or else whatever you're creating is not going to be really very interesting. That's just a background, that's all. 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimension, 4. It's like a guitar, a harp, a banjo. You see what I'm saying? If you go to a primitive culture, they made string instruments out of 1 string. Then some people added to them. 2 strings, then there were 3 strings. Ukulele, then became a banjo, that's all the way up to the Stradivarius. Same thing in every sphere of life. Either you're a banjo or you're a violin. So you can't compare banjos to violins. It's 2 different things. So let's play some music on the Savage Nation, both from my heart, my mind, and from my soul. And before we get back to the news of the day, which I'll do in a minute here, I have the headlines. They're amazing. Got the stories, the headlines. Oh, we got to get this call. Do I have time for that one quick call before we go to the headline? Yeah, because this call has been holding from New York, WABC. Bob, it's interesting that you say what you say on the screen. Say it like it is.
Yes, I initially called the comment about the Russian and the Catholic Church. You talked about the dark side. And as you know...
Okay, Bob, listen, you're breaking up. If the phone keeps up like this, I'm going to have to bye-bye. Is that a cell phone?
Yeah, I said I called.
Yeah, all right. Have a nice day. Okay, why don't you call back 855? See, that's a rot job. A call screener should have done that for me. He's been holding for an hour. So you tell him to call back on a landline. Go to his mother's house and call. Cell phones are not good in talk radio. That's what's happened with talk radio, but people don't know what's wrong with it. The call quality was better in the 90s when there were almost no cell phones. Everyone was calling from their house. So, okay, you had shut-ins and nuts and people in prisons that went with the quarter. But at least you could listen to them. Now you got geniuses. And so, Mike, I wanted to say ISIS because Putin, that's why talk radio is hard to listen to in some regard. So if that man would be pleasant enough to call back, so go over to the headline here. This comes to us from Nick Gutteridge of the Express.co.uk. ISIS so weakened by Russian airstrikes and desertion it could be destroyed in hours. That's something you're not going to read from Jake Woodpecker. Jake Woodpecker has not been allowed to tell you that Russia's been successful in taking out ISIS. Wolf Blitz is so frightened at what's going on, I don't know if there's enough medication in his cabinet to get him to work today. Western and more recently Russian airstrikes, chaotic leadership, and mass defections have weakened the jihadi group to such an extent that it would be unable to repel even a small invasion force. A terror analyst told Express.co.uk that the fanatics have vastly exaggerated their military strength and called on Western leaders to launch a coordinated fight back which would obliterate the hate group. Dr. Afzai Ashraf said ISIS has become its own worst enemy with its campaign of terror against the West, which has prompted an international backlash. Well, you hear about the U.S.-led coalition has done nothing. What airstrikes? Nothing. The airstrikes are garbage. It's like Bill Clinton bombing an aspirin factory during the old Gaddafi days. The barbarity, it didn't stop it. Dr. Ashraf said that another atrocity on the scale of this summer's Tunisia Beach massacre could result in boots on the ground and an end to ISIS's evil grip on power. No kidding. If we had a real president, they wouldn't even be in existence, for God's sakes. A man won't even say Islamic and terrorism in the same breath. How can you fight a war if you don't identify the enemy? Everyone knows that. Even Cameron had to chastise this clown at the UN last week. That's all. So that's a little of the headline on the Savage Nation. Many other things. Here's from the New York Post. How 7 years of Obama brought the world from kumbaya to chaos. That's true. New York City police ignore Muslim Brotherhood assault on the streets of New York. Really? Didn't know that. I didn't know the Muslim Brotherhood was operating on the streets of New York and in the government itself. Wouldn't have known that. How do you like that? No wonder John McCain is such a useful tool. Well, anyway, those are some of the headlines, and we'll talk about the election in a minute. Like, why is Bernie Sanders surging? Yeah, he's going to go nowhere. You know, it's populist rhetoric, screw the rich, get Wall Street, blah, 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 blah. It'll go nowhere. That kind of stuff plays with the college crowd, the freakazoid crowd, the loser crowd. Bernie's going to really straighten the world out. Like a Union Schmendrick from New York in the 1930s, like a guy they got out of like a union, a tailor's union. Bernie, you could talk good. You want to get up there on the... No, leave me alone. I'd rather make a pair of pants. No, Bernie, you talk really good. No, I'm not made for politics. Leave me alone. I just want to hem. I want to sit here and I just want to hem the pants. Bernie, come on, you can do it. So they make him a union. Next thing you know, he's like on a stump, and he's a union leader. Next thing you know, look at that, 20,000 people. I come to power. Take your Wall Street, yo. Take down Wall Street. Tax the rich. Yeah, right. He's not going anywhere. In fact, I believe he's a creation of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Otherwise, it would be a Mossy Park job by now. I said it to you before. The reason that they want Bernie to run so far to the left is to make her look like a moderate. So it's like, run, Bernie, run, right? Like she's afraid of him. Are you kidding me? Otherwise, this guy would have had a polonium knish by now. I'll be right back. Heavy. Good, but it's not what I want to hear. I want to write a new song with a new group I'm creating called Plutonium Knish. I thought about it. I look at like rock bands with weird names. I mean, that would be a heck of a group, Plutonium Knish. But I don't know if people know what a knish is. I mean, who knows what a knish is anymore? If I said plutonium hot dog, they'd get it. Plutonium sushi would be better, because that they know. That's what they fed the Russian journalist in London who criticized my hero. In case you think I don't know what really is real, okay? I get it. I get the big picture. So I'm going to plutonium knish. Wouldn't work. Plutonium sushi, I can get it. I mean, you may as well have plutonium with what you're taking your life in your hands anyway, eating sushi with raw fish with pinworms. You shouldn't eat sushi, boys and girls. It's raw fish. And we've known for 40 years, at least science has known. 98% of scientists have known. The science is in. That raw fish contains pinworms. I mean, that's a fact. That's science, not what Obama puts out about the global baloney. Global galoney. Global gloveling. Grovel gloveling. Oh, do I have a story on that? Wait a minute. Hold it. Don't go away. I'm getting it. Here it is. Back right here. I found this Friday night on Breitbart by James Dellingpole. Climate alarmist caught in largest science scandal in U.S. history. It's some guy from India. Doing real well over here. He pulled down $60 million in this scam, and his big mistake was not robbing the global warming money, because that they're all doing. No. He didn't pony up to the college that gave him the start, because his contract with the college requires he kick back half of what he rakes in. But he was such a greedy slime bag that he sent the money to India to his daughter with another fake foundation where the money went. You hear this? Wait, I'm going to read you the story in a minute. Professor Jagdish Shukla of George Mason University of Virginia. I hope they throw this bum, if he's guilty now. I want him to have a proper trial. All people are innocent until proven guilty. But I hope Jagdish is given a fair trial and we get to the bottom of the global warming scam, the biggest scam in the history of the world.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Very, very
For the loser now will be later the win for the times they are changing.
Yeah, like agendas are changing. That's all. So I was just going through an email chain with someone I respect very much is very, very, very down on where this is going. And I'm saying, like, there's an article out where these feminist psychos put out a thing that muscles and machismo should be ruled out. It's bad for a boy to have muscles and to want to be strong and be a man. Could you believe how sick these feminists are? Mentally ill. Destroyed their own minds. Now they want to destroy the minds of the nation. And their hero, of course, is Hillary Clinton. So a guy sends me, I sent him the article about that. The article was The College Fix. It's on my website. And my friend writes back, yep, no guns, muscles, fast cars, big cars, loud music, loud voice, meat and money, all bad. So I say to him in an email, laugh at the freaks, their time is soon over. He says to me, I don't know how, as they will win the White House and have the new sheeple elect them forever. Turn boys to girls and girls to boys and brainwash in schools at age 3. Drug any masculine boys, destroy military, ban guns and all I mentioned, nothing left, neutered males, females to rule, and then they scream for help when it all comes crashing down. At that point, it is too late. So, I mean, you know, there are people who see it that way, by the way. They're not all, depressed. They see what's going on. They see how psychotic it has become in this country, that the military can't win a war against a ragtag bunch of throat cutters, 7th century throat cutters, who have no air force, no navy, no heavy weapons, and they're still raging across the Middle East because of the metrosexual in the White House, who has the mentality of these psychos. In plain English, he's obsessed with this global warming, the biggest threat to humanity. It's the biggest scam that he ever stumbled upon. I don't want to read the article. Climate alarmist caught in largest science scandal in U.S. history. And this is the jerk who called for RICO statutes to be used against anyone who doubted the science on global warming. No one has ever heard anything like this. Climate alarmists who are making fortunes had the nerve to demand that the RICO statute be used against any scientist or others who say we want to see the evidence and here's other evidence. I never heard of this in my life. This goes back to the Middle Ages, to say anyone who has a different opinion should be put in jail. So this guy is raking in a combined income in excess of $800,000 a year, him and his wife. You hear $800,000 a year, this fake scientist. Then he gets grant after grant. And it's on global warming, though. And, of course, because he's a third worlder originally, they throw money at him. You know how that works. He must be a genius. He comes from such a sacred society where they put their hands together and bow when they walk in a room, you know. They're superior to you. So they look into this guy, $800,000 for him and the wife. She has no degree whatsoever. Then Shukla and his wife received a further $214,000 in compensation from IGES. That's some other shyster group on global nonsense. Their combined comp doubled over the next 2 years to approximately $400,000. For a combined comp of over $530,000 by 2004. Shukla's university salary increased dramatically over the decade, reaching $250,000 by 2013 and $314,000 by 2014. Meanwhile, despite the apparent transition of IGES to George Mason University, the income of the Shuklas from IGES continued to increase, reaching $547,000 by 2013. Then they go on, blah, 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 blah. So where are we at this today? Well, the story begins last month when, as reported at Breitbart, 20 alarmist gangsters, led by them, wrote a letter to President O'Shyster, urging him to use RICO laws to crush climate skeptics. Shukla's second big mistake was to send the letter not from his university address, but from his nonprofit, the IGES. But his first, far bigger mistake was his hubris in organizing the letter in the first place. You see, that drew the attention of Shukla's critics to something which, presumably, he would have preferred to keep secret. That for nearly 14 years, he, his family, and his friends have been gorging themselves on taxpayers' money at IGES, and that this money comes on top of the very generous salary he receives for doing much the same work at George Mason University. Now, here's where the trouble begins for him. Under federal law, state employees may not be remunerated for doing work which falls under their state employee remit. And as a professor at GMU, Shukla is definitely an employee of the state. And the work for which he has most lavishly been rewarding himself at IGES, his private foundation, appears to be remarkably similar to the work he does at GMU as a professor of climate dynamics. Now, if GMU, George Mason University, was aware of these extracurricular payments, then it was in breach of its own policy of financial conflicts of interest in federally funded research. If it wasn't aware of them, then Shukla legally may be required to send half of that $63 million in federal grants to his employer, George Mason University. Do you understand what's going on here, how big this is? Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you I kind of knew this was going on. And yes, I'm going to tell you it's all in government zero. Yes, it is. Yes, because I see all. Man sees all. Now, there's a chapter. I'm not going to read it to you now. We'll wait till the book is out. Zero Science, page 226 to 246. And in it, I talk about Lysenkoism then and now, purging scientists who dissent, how real science works, global warming and cooling are natural, inconvenient research, the Vostok ice core samples, where's the warming, and junk journalism for junk science. It's good stuff. Very important that you have it in your library to try and save us before 2016. It's our last shot. It's that simple. I mean, you say, well, you know, and you know who you're going to vote for, and you hope Trump wins to get down to the election thing. And if he doesn't, well, you'll take any of the Republicans who would be better than any of the lib socialists. Maybe you're right, maybe not. Rubio is, and Rubio's a shill. Rubio's a puppet on a string owned by people that you can't even imagine. In my opinion, though, Rubio is the worst choice of all. Rubio is more dangerous than Jeb, in my estimation. Rubio is an absolute and total danger to this republic. But I saw that from the get-go. I saw they found an ice cream man in the streets of Miami and made him into a senator, and now they want to make him into president. It's like the movie The Gardener with Peter Sellers in the 60s. This guy has no qualifications whatsoever. What, his name ends in a vowel that makes him a president? Whatever, that's my opinion. I don't have any strong opinions about Rubio other than the ones I just expressed, but so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this. The evil call. He's back. The guy who I couldn't hear on the cell is back now on the land. So, Bob, on WABC, you'll be the first caller on the Savage Nation today. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Dr. Savage. I called initially about make a comment about the Russians and the Catholics, but you mentioned something about the dark side. And Dr. Lutzer made it clear to me a while back that the dark side...
Wait, Dr. who?
Dr. Lutzer out of Chicago.
All right, let's make it simple. What is your main point? Let's make it... give me the summary.
The dark side takes you places you never thought you would go.
Okay, the dark side takes you to places you thought you'd never go, and?
And it keeps you there longer than you want to stay.
Yeah, you're right about that, my friend. So what's your experience? I mean, you obviously have a little experience going down that road. Have you been able to come back?
I would say, like you, like everyone, we've all had that dark side where it's taken you there. One of the national things that I see is my good fellow LT, Lawrence Taylor, a dynamic football player he never would have thought that he was going to be caught with an underage prostitute years later. But the dark side, it puts scales on your eyes. It deafens your hearing.
Bob, let me ask you something. Bob, I want to ask you something. Are you speaking through like a synthesizer to change your voice?
No, I'm not.
Okay, because now you sound clearer. Are you a person that people would recognize if we told them your name?
Perhaps.
Okay, well, that's unimportant. The important thing is you're saying things that are augmenting my primary point from an hour ago about the dark side, and people don't, because it was about that doctor, 38, family, 3 children, dermatologist, great university, and she goes out for a night with a friend. She's found 2 days later naked in a doorway from a coke overdose. That's what I was talking about. And I was saying be very careful where you go with yourself, because you can't always come back from where you go.
devil, Mike, okay? So when you start dancing with the devil, okay, which like Obama is, and like many people do, then he's the one who will put the scales on your eyes. You don't see what you're doing. That's why America's upside down. They've been dancing with the devil. And
yeah, but it's worked for Mr. and Mrs. Obama. Here are two community organizers. Look how far they've gotten with it.
Because, well, they got the power of the dark side on them. You know, there's a poker game going on. Like you said before, somebody starts a war and someone's going to finish it, or somebody starts something. Well, there's a poker game going on. There's a lot of people at the table, well, as far as the New World Order. The Chinese are going to be the ones who eventually win that hand. There may be Putin and there may be other people at that table that thinking they're going to win. And the ISIS or whatever, they're going to try and control the world with the World Wide Web. It's like a spider web where everyone's coming into the web system, and that's like a spider web, and you're going to get caught in it. All your information, all your...
It's interesting. No, I've been sucked into the Internet. I'm on it all the time.
Yeah. Eventually...
I'm on it all the time, but I try to use it for my work. I mean, I write my books from it. I produce my shows from it. How in the world can you live without being on the Internet? How is it even possible?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the web is. I mean, it's amazing that it's a World Wide Web.
Yeah, but I love what you just said. It's the spider web, and once you're pulled into it, you can't get out of it. I like that. I think it's 100% true. But what if you yourself are a bigger spider than the spider that wove the web?
Well, the only one bigger than that right now.
Or what if you're a kind of being that can walk that web without getting stuck in it, and use that web for your own, you know, let's say your own purposes. You know, not every insect that walks in a spider web gets attached to it.
Which you do. You're walking that web. I have to pray to God that He keeps you from getting stuck or getting wrapped up.
Yeah, but there's everything on the web. Here's the point. There's everything on the Internet, from the worst horrible garbage imaginable to the most sublime things humanity has ever created. So this is the problem, is that it's hard to stay on one side without being sucked into the other. I agree with you, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm actually saying as far as the world order, in other words, how that tool is going to be used to eventually, you know.
Well, of course. Okay, I get what you're saying. So you're taking out of the esoteric and putting into the practical. Well, yeah, you're right. So where do we go with it? We don't turn off on the web. I know people who are my age who don't have Internet, and they consider themselves intelligent. I know one guy is a lawyer. He doesn't have no iPhone, no cell phone. He thinks he's superior because of that. How could he even function in the world like that?
You can't really function without being there. I'm just saying it's there, and it's going to come, you know, it's going to come home, and there will be a time.
All right, but you believe that the players right now are not the ultimate players, is what you're saying. You think that, for example, this game going on in Syria, although Russia looks like it's going to pound ISIS into sand, the big winner there is going to be China, is what you're kind of saying?
I'm saying that, right, that Russia is one of the players in the poker game, and so is the United States. But the United States is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. In 1 hour's time, the great whore, which America is, I hate to say it because I love America, but they're going to be taken out in 1 hour. It will be 1 hour.
You're talking about China taking down our grid, using pulses to destroy our grid?
I'm talking about a combination of things. I think it's going to be China and Russia teaming up together, and then China, like Germany with Russia, is going to take out Russia. Eventually it's going to be those two together, but China, with their billions of people, with their men not having women, it's going to be like Attila the Hun, where they can come to America, they can come to the world, they can get their women. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics involved, Mike, I think.
Well, I look around America, it's the weakest nation on the planet. It is the most, I've never seen anything like it. As I look at it, everywhere I go, I see weakness. I see a pathetic nation, a nation that looks like it's ripe for the taking. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life, how a masculine nation like this that beat Hitler could be turned into pulp by such evil forces in such a small period of time, and I mean small historically. You know, you talk about a half a century to see a nation of this power ground into pulp by vermin. It's hard to believe. And it's from the enemy within. And now they have their president in the White House for 7 straight years, doing everything he can to destroy whatever is left of the masculinity of this nation, to put it in plain English. Boy, you really know what you're doing. Before you go, what do you do for a living, my friend?
I'm a teacher.
History?
No, technical teacher.
Well, your students are very lucky, Bob. Stay on the line, Bob. We're going to send you one of the first editions of Government Zero. Boy, do I get callers, right, Bob? That was amazing. There's food for thought. I'll be right back. Well, the hour's almost up, and that was hour 2. There's another big hour of hour 3, but my God, all I can say to you is what a Monday this has been. It started out dark, and you know, they say it's darkest before the dawn, and it really was dark before today's dawn, and I tweeted out, "Dark day looming." If you're on my Twitter list, I'm sorry if I bummed you out, but the day's young yet. We had a pilot die of a heart attack in midair in an American Airlines plane. Naked doctor dead in a doorway. I mean, a lot of bad stuff going on in the world. The worst is the president's lies about his fake war against ISIS, as evidenced by the real war being conducted by a real man with a real Air Force against a real enemy. My friends, it's never been this bad. But you can thank Jake Woodpecker and company for permitting him to get away with this. More when I return.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Must be a kind of blind love.
It is surely the Savage Nation Hour 3, because I'm changing the pace now. I call this the Shabub Shabub song. It goes back to the 50s, maybe the mid-50s, when we had a real American in the White House. A real American hero in the White House, at that. Someone who had actually fought in World War II, led us in the victory against Germany. It was an America in, well, the greatest place it was ever in the history of its nationhood. And America was truly a great place to live in at that time. I realize it was imperfect as it is now, and it was corrected to a certain extent after that period of time. But we've reached the nadir of our nation's history under Barack Obama. He is the epitome, the opposite of that great time in American history. I got to tell you, I've lived through it. I'm living through it. I'm not just doing it for effect. Many people are so blind they don't even know what's going on. And I'm going to try to do this generically without getting too personal. But I had a conversation with, let us say, an acquaintance of mine recently over something. Oh, he brought up the Pope. Now, he's a liberal, and I knew him from college. He's a nice guy, but he is politically just a, let us say, a blind follower of liberalism. He can't evolve. No matter what happens in the world, he's stuck in the Democrat side of the ledger. So I'm not that friendly with him, but okay, you know, for old time's sake, he knew my mother and father and this and that. He knew me in my car days. You know, you hang out with people you knew once in a while. Nothing wrong with that, and you can disagree with people too, but something interesting happened on the phone. He said, I heard your show on the Pope, and he said, I really liked your passion, but I disagree with you. And he said, I got to run. I said, what do you mean you got to run? What do you know about the Pope's history? I said to him. He said, oh, I don't know. I got to run right now. I said, no, wait a minute. I studied this Pope. I know his history from the time he was a bartender, politician, to his history as a Peronista, the radical politics of his youth. I wrote a 9,000-word chapter on it in my forthcoming book, Government Zero. I said, have you studied the Pope? No, he said, but I got to run. I said, hey, Johnny, look, you're an architect, and I wouldn't dispute architectural theory with you because I know nothing about it. How could you have the audacity to tell me that you don't agree with me, on the Pope, but you never studied him? I said, the only reason I said you, an atheist who hates religion, hates the church in particular, love the Pope is because the Pope has given you a political message that you accept. Don't you understand that? And he didn't understand it. And I said, holy God, even intelligent people are so locked into their doxies, it's almost impossible. You talk about going against the tide. It's hard to believe how thick people can be. Their minds are made up. Don't confuse them with the facts. You know that story, right? So that's what the problem is for us right now. And then you got intelligent people, and I meet intelligent people. Only a few people I talk to. I don't have a wide circle of friends, and I have very few people I talk to at all, to be frank with you. It's not like I don't waste my time, but I don't waste my time. You know, Donald Trump said something interesting. I'm reading a book that tried to smear him from when he was younger. It doesn't smear him. It looks like he's a great guy, frankly. I would have liked to have hung out with Donald when he was younger. But the thing was, this guy who wrote is a loser who can't stand Donald's success. So he tries to smear him on all his successes and tries to smear his father. It's awful what these people will do. But there was one statement that stuck out in my head from when Donald was young where he said something to the effect of, I don't give the ordinary person respect because they're not worth it. Most ordinary people are terrible people. It's absolutely true. Why should you respect everyone you meet? You owe it to them? Most people are no good, by the way. They're not good. Most people are stupid, incidentally. No matter how smart they may look, they're dumb. And they're stuck. They can't grow. They can't develop. Their minds are closed. So that's why you hang out with a dog or whatever, or watch seagulls die for prey, or watch cormorants drop out of the sky, or watch birds. I love to watch the terns here on San Francisco Bay drop out of the sky. It's amazing. You see them flying over the water, and then they let their wings go, and they literally drop like a rock and hit that fish. It's awesome to watch that. And here we are, the Savage Nation, Hour 3 on this Monday. I don't even know the date. I've lost track of the date already. October something? Year what? 2015 already. 10/5/2015. I'm timeless. Dates are timeless to me. You know, I want to mention something. I have to get it out of my system. Because if I don't, who will? Someone's going to tell you about it. The Talk Stream Live streaming radio show ratings came out. And I got to tell you something interesting. Yes, I'm number one, but my ratings went through the ceiling. They were high, but now they broke all records. I have a 27 share. You know what that means? That means out of 100 share, I have 27% of 100 share. In other words, anyone listening to talk radio at that time, 27% of them are listening to me. That's beyond comprehension. Russia's number 2 at 13.9%. And this is not to knock Russia in any way. It's just what it is. Laura Ingram's number 3. Glenn Beck 5. Sean Hannity 6 with a 3.6 share. And other very good people are on the list. I'm not here to knock anyone. Alex Jones is at number 10 at a 1.5 share, and he's really good. Then there are others. Some are good, some are not, this and that. But the point I'm making is, yes, I'm blowing my own horn, but if I didn't, who would? What are they going to do? You're going to read about me in the New York Daily News or the New York Daily Post? You're going to see me on Fox News? No, they're my enemy. They don't like me. They don't want me on the network. And I know what it goes back to. I figured out when it happened. When I first started in radio, Hannity and O'Reilly used to compete to get me on the show with my book. They wanted me on first, and it was an interesting time for me. And then I wrote The Political Zoo in the mid-2000s, where I talked about O'Reilly with the loofah incident. I think that's what did it now that I think about it. It must have been the loofah cover-up by the Fox thing. And he's got a great show. He does very good. And makes a lot of money. He knows just what notes to toot. You know, killing this one, killing that one. I hope he doesn't write one called Killing O'Reilly. I don't know how that would work. He's killed everyone off. I mean, the next thing is the author might knock himself off in a book. That might be his biggest seller. Just joking. But I'm saying that's why I'm not on there. So the TSL Top 25, and he dropped out of radio years ago because he wasn't pulling. The TSL Top 25 streaming talk shows. I would be terrible on television. It's not my medium. Too self-conscious. It's like you look at the camera. How could you think when you're staring at a camera? You know, I don't understand the two things together. I could do radio because I'm not worried about how I look and when I'm pushing touching? Is my shirt, my nose, my tie? Nothing. It's pure thought. This is pure intellectual stream of consciousness based upon what I've read and what I'm studying at the moment, and what I want to say to you. My belief system is apparent to you. But television, you have to perform in a different way, where you're so self-conscious about your performance that you can't deliver the message as powerfully as you can in radio. I got to watch out with that long as. I'm picking it up. It's like a disease from Obama. And I find myself like stretching out the vowels as I'm thinking. It's not good. This is not good from listening to him. And so Mr. Putin shows a sign of weakness. And, watch out for that long A, man. That's the one that's doing it. I'm not kidding. Listen, in the speech we played, he tries to knock Putin. He's only knocking himself. He says Putin went into Syria not out of strength, but out of weakness. Play it for a minute, Robert. Just play it.
Mr. Putin had to go into Syria not out of strength, but out of weakness, because his client, Mr. Assad, was crumbling, and it was insufficient for him simply to send them arms and money. Now he's got to put in his own planes and his own pilots. And the notion that he put forward a plan and that somehow the international community sees that as viable because...
All right, he's stretching it out. You can hear he's groping. You can hear a man groping. You can hear it in his voice. He's stretching it out because he knows he's as he's saying the speech that the girls wrote for him, he realizes how thin it sounds and how empty it sounds and how weak he sounds. There was an interesting article. I hope it's still on michaelsavage.com. No. Oh, the trade pact. Did you hear about that? My headline, Obama sells out U.S. workers in massive trade pact with Asia. You thought NAFTA was bad under the Clintons? It's nothing compared to what he did overnight. He sold us out with the new Asia trade pact. A dozen Pacific Rim nations are going to destroy us. There's no such thing as free trade. He did it to throw American workers under the bus and destroy the remnants of American industry. It's sickening. And I know I'm right on this again. You know how I know I'm right? Because even the unions, the AFL-CIO, which you think would be in his corner, have turned on him on this. Even Bernie Sanders has turned on Obama over this trade deal. Obama is perhaps the worst traitor to virtually every group that has ever believed in this man. He is so untrustworthy. He's exactly what he looks like. He is the bad kid in the classroom who would step on someone's foot and then scream, "Teacher, he stepped on my foot." Cheat on someone's exam and then tell a teacher that the other guy stole the exam from him. This guy is so untrustworthy that even the unions have turned on him. Even Bernie Sanders has called him what he is. That's a big story. But that's not the story I was getting at. It was about his personality, not that he's a traitor, which he is. He sold us down the river. You got to see the story. No, I'm talking about another story about the metrosexual part. I wish I could find it. I think it's gone by now. He wants Syria as Obama's Watergate. That's from the New York Post. That's not it. Ah, here it is. Here, London Telegraph came out over the weekend. I got a minute to talk about it. Vladimir Putin sees Barack Obama's coolness as weakness, and it's hurting America. Russia's bombing of American allies in Syria underlines how much more powerful and provocative Putin is than he was before Obama took office. It's an interesting story. And it says it's being viewed as the latest example of American humiliation abroad. And they're talking about Obama playing it cool when it's really a mark of his weakness. And it says it all comes in the heels of Obama's drawing of a red line regarding the use of chemical weapons, only to back down when the Assad regime, by most accounts, used them. Weakness invites provocation, and never one to miss an opportunity to outmaneuver Mr. Obama. Mr. Putin provided a self-serving opportunity that would also allow the president to save face. Moscow would push Syria to put their chemical weapons under international control. And then they go on to the personalities here. For those paying attention, Mr. Obama's foreign policy worldview has failed. This is a foreign newspaper, if you want to call Telegraph a foreign paper. They say Obama's foreign policy worldview has failed. This is all in a week, by the way. The suggestion that America could leave a vacuum that wouldn't be filled by our adversaries, the idea that the international community, whatever that means, would respect us more if we were to retreat from the world was always a farce. At some level, listen to this carefully, high-stakes diplomacy is still a game of chicken where machismo matters. Even domestically, there are still traces of this left in our more civilized politics. We recently witnessed an example of Jeb Bush standing on his toes during a photo op, attempting to appear taller than Donald Trump. This is childish and petty, and yet serious people play these power games. But nobody plays them better than Mr. Putin, the former KGB officer who likes to ride horses while shirtless. It's nice to live in a postmodern country, but we shouldn't delude ourselves into believing the rest of the world is impressed by our sophistication. In the vast majority of the world, power, or the perception of power, is what matters. In America, President Obama's brand of metrosexual coolness works well. Did you hear that? He mocked Mitt Romney, for example, as a Neanderthal stuck in the 80s for suggesting in 2012 that Russia was still our main geopolitical foe. Mr. Obama's mix of cool insouciance and biting sarcasm plays much better with the latte-sipping crowd than it does with former KGB operatives, where his style and rhetoric suggests weakness, softness, and a lack of commitment and moral clarity. Today it looks like he's allowing Russia to push America around and dictate the terms of our being pushed around. One can only imagine that this might impact the 2016 presidential race. My theory is that it helps Donald Trump. He's perceived as a winner who could stand up to Mr. Putin. Well, I'll go on a little later. But Mr. Trump is on tomorrow, and I think that the right got this wrong, because Donald Trump will not stand up to Mr. Putin. He actually admires him. See, they got this wrong. Everyone's vilifying Mr. Putin when in fact Mr. Putin is the new sheriff on the world stage who finally went after the villains, the very villains that Obama has pretended to be fighting, but all along he was only fighting the American people. I'll be back. It is 25 minutes after the hour on the Savage Nation. You know, I have a Trump soundbite, even though he's going to be on tomorrow. I don't know whether he's channeling me or I'm channeling him in some regard, but I said these same things. He said the Middle East would be more stable if Saddam and Gaddafi were still in power. It's shocking when you hear a major national figure like Donald Trump saying it, but I have said the same thing. It's not that they're good people, or were good people, but they knew how to control the tribes, in plain English. They knew how to keep the throat cutters under control. You don't control them with the Geneva Convention. And that's what Saddam did, and that's what Gaddafi did, as bad as they were. And the sad part is that they could have been controlled, and they could have been useful for us, but the fools who run Washington made the drastic mistake of killing Gaddafi and killing Saddam, and as a result, the Middle East is in free fall right now. So, you know, you blame who you want. You can blame Bush. You can say he went after the wrong target. I've heard that. What's the difference who you blame? The solution is what Russia's doing. Bombing the vermin. So he's bombing the worst of them. Let's put it to you that way. He's bombing the worst of them. It's that simple. A bunch of these cockroaches are out of control, and he's bombing them. And that's what needs to be done. What do you want to do? Negotiate with them? So they'll cut your throat next? I don't know if I have the time here. Minute 17. Start clip 7. See where it goes. Let's just
I was talking to a general 2 days ago. He said, we have no idea who these people are. We're training people. We don't know who they are. We're giving them billions of dollars to fight Assad. And you know what? It's very possible. I'm not saying Assad's a good guy, because he's probably a bad guy. But I've watched him interviewed many times, and you can make the case. If you look at Libya, look what we did there. Mm-hmm. It's a mess. If you look at Saddam Hussein with Iraq, look what we did there. It's a mess.
Right. So he's saying exactly what needs to be said. Of course, I said it, so they dismissed it as a crackpot who's saying it. But it wasn't. It was 100% accurate, because I'm not Jake Woodpecker. Jake Woodpecker reads what they write for him. Whatever the ugly guy in the back with the curly hair and the big eyeglasses writes for him, that's what Woodpecker reads on the screen. But I read it directly from my DNA, that's all. So here we are, another half hour to go on the Savage Nation. And I may take you to places you least expect, because I'm not so sure where I want to go. So I would suggest you be here for the ride, right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
It is the last half hour of the third hour of the Savage Nation, which means we go to, I think we'll go to callers, 855-400-7282, 855-400-SAVAGE. And if you get on with Savage, you'll reach more people than you've met in your entire life. So I know it's intimidating, but it's your chance to editorialize something that used to be done with newspapers, but no more, because you never can get your letter published if you don't believe in Borders, Language, and Culture. You believe in Borders, Language, and Culture, you're not getting a letter published. It's that simple. So I want to go to my website, michaelsavage.com, and read some of the stories that I found interesting and put them up there. Top right, michaelsavage.com. Oh, that's the picture of me in the green shirt at WABC. There's so many different pictures of me on the website from different phases of my life, I don't know which one is me anymore. Savage's digital streaming success reaches new heights. He maintains the #1 spot with the highest ever share. No, that's true. It's a new story. Thank you very much for metrics through our cloud-based server via TalkStream Live's website, gadgets, iPhone, iPad, and Android apps, and our click-to-listen links on social networks. This report only ranks the talk shows that are listed at TalkStreamLive.com. Savage is at a 27 share, the highest ever, further extending his #1 streak with massive margins over all other talk competitors, followed by Rush at 2, Glenn Beck at 5, Laura Ingraham at 3. Art Bell returns to talk radio with Midnight in the Desert as predicted for his first ratings period, lands among the top 25. He's back, huh? How do you like that? All these old guys. Everybody wants to be in the business. It's funny, everybody in the world wants a talk show. Do you know that? What do you do? Talk radio? Big deal. I could do that. Everybody wants to get in on the act. It's a tough thing to do for 3 hours a day. Go try it. Try it for 3 minutes a day. Just try it for 3 minutes a day. We'll give you the microphone sometime. Just see if anyone listens to you and see how you sound to yourself when you listen back. It's like, remember when you were a kid and the first time you ever heard yourself on a tape recorder? How weird your voice sounded? Or when, let's say, when someone took a video of you, said, that can't be me. I'm much bigger. I'm better look. No, that's who you really It's a tough medium. Everyone wants to be on the act. I bet you most actors in Hollywood like to have a mic in their house where they can just get up and pontificate. Except who's going to book that act? I'm just talking here. I'm just saying. I did the world news, now slowing it down a little. The best thing I did today was me in the first hour, so there's no way to top it. But the soundbite that was the best was the character Peter Quinn, the assassin from the series Homeland, talking about no strategy in Syria. I love that. I don't want to repeat it. I may use it again tomorrow. It's so good. But I just said so someone will steal it already by tomorrow morning. The producer heard it already. He'll be on the show. Oh, look at this one from Biden that I didn't get to. What a cretin. There are homophobes still left. Most of them are running for president. Can I ask you why the gay issue is still an issue at all? Can anyone tell me why this issue is still an issue? Who cares? Haven't we had enough of this topic for the rest of our lives? This is what Biden's going to run on. So now it's anti-gay bashing. You heard it first on my show. Remember, for years it was gay bashing. If someone was gay, you picked on him. I never did, but there was a period in American history where it was gay bashing. So now it's anti-gay bashing. That's the best the idiots who run Biden's brain can come up with, anti-gay bashing. You hear this? Beyond belief. Listen to clip 25. You're not going to believe how stupid he is. He's actually dumber than he appears. Listen.
Because of how far you've moved the American people, the remainder of the work, and much work has to be done, I promise you, will come much more quickly and more surely. It will increase in its rapidity the change that we need.
Oh, my God.
I strongly support the Equality Act, and
Can
it
you
will
believe
pass.
this is going to run for the president? With ISIS throwing gays off roofs? This schmuck is appealing to people on this basis? Keep playing this putz.
The American people are already with you. Look at the numbers. There's homophobes still left. Most of them are running for president, I think.
Woo! Woo! Great job, Joe, you moron, you. You're as dumb as you look and even worse, you putz, you. That's the best you could do in an age when ISIS is throwing gays off roofs, is call Republicans homophobes, and you think running on this ticket is going to get you to the presidency? I'd be quite shocked if it does, Joe. I think you ought to really go into retirement. Holy God, you know what? Run, Joe, run. That's all I can say. Run, Joe, run. I'd like to see you and Hillary and Bernie and O'Malley and the other pack of leftists debate each other. Then I know there's even a party out there. What an embarrassment you are. I didn't even want to get excited in this. I was trying to, cool it down. It's like a truck that's been going too fast down a highway. Or when you come out of the High Sierra on Highway 80, if you live in California, you know what I'm talking about. I haven't been up there in a long time. But remember, when you come down Highway 80, coming out of the high mountains, there's truck turnouts. It's a slower down. And if you can't control the truck or the brakes go out, you pull her into one of those sand pits on the side of the road. That's what I'm trying to do here, is pull my truck into a sand pit. But what just happened is it's still careening down the road because of Joe Biden. He just picked up speed when I wanted it to pull off on the side of the road so I could look down into the American Canyon and holler, Michael, how are you? I remember once I rolled a tire down into one of those canyons when I was young in the 80s. Matter of fact, I remember, could I say this? Is the statute of limitations up? I better not. I pulled the old Cadillac over on the side of the road, and I had an old tire in the back and a 45 in the glove box, and nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. All legal at the time. All legal at the time. Dallas, WBAP. Richard, what's on your mind? Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Savage. Michael, concerning Syria and Russia, I contacted the Russian embassy twice in the last month. I called the Russian embassy on Friday, and I said, God bless Putin. I believe Putin is a world hero for the truths he's telling about what's going on there. The New York Times published his letter, which was a magnificent letter. And then I sent a red postcard to the Pentagon and to the Russian embassy saying, what do we need to stop World War III?
Well, what's World War III going to be based on? Who? U.S. versus Russia?
We are...
Hello? Are you there? What's going on? Are your wife pulling the string? What?
We're near World War III, Michael. You know this.
Wait, I'm sorry. We're in World War III?
We are nearing World War III.
No. World War III was declared on 9/11/2001 when the 7th century animals blew up the World Trade Center. That was the beginning of World War III, definitively. They had attacked the Pentagon, they had attacked the Marine barracks before that in Beirut, but everyone forgot that because it was only, American heroes. Then they blew up the World Trade Center. We have been at World War III since 9/11, and most of the world doesn't know that, but they know it. The other side knows it. They've been playing by the same rule book since the 7th century, my friend.
I agree.
All right, well, many of us see it for what it is. And if it wasn't for Russia right now, people would be in a lot worse shape than they are, because they're on the run. According to what I read out of the British newspapers, and by the way, it's a liberal newspaper. It's not even a conservative paper, .telegraph.uk. They claim that ISIS targets have been destroyed, decimated, and they're running. They're running like scared rabbits now that they're no longer raping 8-year-old girls or breaking into a church and burning it to the ground. Man, oh man, what a world, and we have a president who faked it all along. You talk about a war crime. How about faking running a war against the worst terrorist scourge since Hitler? Is that not a crime? Excuse me, is that not a crime? I want to ask you. I'm talking to you out there, you good liberals. What if you had a president who was faking a war against the worst scourge that the world has seen since Hitler? Raping, murdering, pillaging, blowing up archaeological sites, and your president lied to you for over 2 years saying he's taking them on and fighting them. Is that not a war crime? Tell me what is. Tell me where the repercussions are. Why is it that they can get away with anything? Tell me why. Why are they above the law? Answer is they write the laws. They appoint the Justice Department. They steamroll Congress. They own the press. They have idiots like Jake Woodpecker in there. Here, I'm reading the thing, express.co.uk. ISIS so weakened by Russian airstrikes and desertion, it could be destroyed in hours. How 7 years of Obama brought the world from kumbaya to chaos. That's from the New York Post. It's unbelievable, but he gets away with it. Gets away with it. Pulls out the vowels, that's all. Gets away with it. Pulls the Harvard vowels out. Then pulls out his own thing. So let me see what's on my website. Okay, top right. Savage's digital streaming success reaches new heights. Number 2, Obama sells out U.S. workers in massive trade pact with Asia. Huge story. Huge story. And I'm so right on my headline because the AFL-CIO came out against the trade deal. Bernie, the commie, Sanders came out against it. I came out against it because there's no such thing as free trade. It's a lie. It's one of the greatest lies of our time. Bill Clinton pulled it on us with the NAFTA job. Remember NAFTA and GATT? It was a complete lie. Gutted the American industry. So now what? The remnants of it, they want to sell out now to Pacific Rim nations? What, Japan needs a little more help? What's it still after World War II? We just bombed them with a nuclear bomb? What kind of nonsense is this? Okay, those are the top 2 stories. So here's what I'm doing. I put a new byline up on my ad for my book. You know, my book ad is on the left side of my website. So it's me with that great hat saying Government Zero holding a picture of the nation. No borders, no language, no culture, government zero. But I'm changing the headline each week to get you to look at it. It says Zero Strategy Against ISIS Exposed, pages 49 to 77. I think that this is a whole new trick for me. And I want you to look at it because so many of these things have come true. Here's one that you won't see anywhere else. A friend of mine in the military sent it. U.S. versus Russia. What a war would look like between the world's most fearsome militaries. It's a terrible scenario, by the way. It comes out of the Military Times. It says Russia has big ambitions, growing capabilities. And it shows the pluses and the minuses. We have a stronger military. Certainly we have a huge Navy and they don't. But they have a huge submarine force. And the difference is they have a commander-in-chief who's not afraid to use it. We have a commander-in-grief who's nothing but just say a shadow player. President Obama is like the Japanese theater? You know what no theater is? Raise your hand if you know what a no theater is. Anyone out there in the audience? I'm imagining a real live audience now. I used to like live audiences. You'd ask a question, someone would raise their hand. Like in the back, with my esoteric references, like three people, oh yeah, no theater, raise their hand. Do you know what a no theater is? With the white face, and they would act out ritualistic plays. Obama is sort of like a no theater actor. But in this sense, I mean it literally, not figuratively. And I'll let that hang in the air. Be right back.
Syracuse American 550s out of 15,000 for 5,000. A medical emergency. Captain is incapacitated. Request handling for runway 10 landing.
American 550, Syracuse approach, roger. Altimeter is 3025. Runway 28 is also available if you'd like. The winds are currently 090 at tree.
We'll accept runway 28 for American 550.
Yeah, horrible. This has happened this morning. A pilot got a heart attack and died. It's everyone's worst nightmare. Thank God the co-pilot took it. That was going from Phoenix to Boston. Pilot, died. Co-pilot took over the emergency landing in Syracuse. Imagine having an overnight in Syracuse. They buy you don't worry, everyone's been given a free room in the Holiday Inn with cinder block walls next to a railroad. I've stayed in those when I was young, like when I had to work jobs in the South. Horrible places. Like the mini bar has one rusty can of Bud in it, and a church key that's got ptomaine. People have used it to open things you don't even want to know about, and it's there in the drawer somewhere. Horrible places. You ask for a cappuccino, they call a fire department to put you out. No, it's not a joke, but I'm trying to lighten it up. Look what people write on Twitter. Look what a passenger wrote. The pilot died on a red-eye back to Boston, leading to 4 hours in Syracuse. Life is short. Do what you love before it's too late. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, I always wanted to be an airline pilot and have a heart attack with 200 people aboard. That was on my bucket list. Couldn't wait. What do you mean life is short? Do what you love to do. I don't understand thinking like that. I must be from another planet or something. What does that mean? Life is short. Do what you love. That has no logic to it before it's too late. You mean when you're dying, you remember you did things you liked? Is that what that means, Robert? Does that make sense? I'm dying, but I'm happy because I did X, Y, and Z. I was on a water polo. I don't understand that. Do what you love before it's too late. How does that work? I never understood that. You mean when you're sick and you're dying, you remember that you did something you like to do? What a fantasy world this country lives in. What other nation on earth had people that are this shallow? I never saw do what you love before it's too late. I can't even understand that. Logically, it makes no sense. Because it would mean you'd have to remember as you're dying that you did something you love doing. So that assumes a few things. A, you're going to die peacefully and slowly without any pain. You're going to be totally conscious. That's kind of rare. Maybe you're watching too many movies or something. That's not how it works. Generally, you die a slow, horrible, painful death with nobody around you in agony. Or, and I'm sorry to bum you out, the truth is, where does this come from? Do what you love before it's too late. I don't know. That's the way people think. Take me out to the ball game. What do I know? How to influence friends and win people over or something like that. Anyway, he died. It's not a funny thing, but makes you think about it. Could happen. You could hear a clunk on my desk, one of these. What if you heard this? And I got to tell you that... What would they do? Robert, what would you do if you heard a clunk? You'd have to go to music, or do you have a tape ready? You know, we should get a tape ready just in case, God forbid. You don't want to go to music. We should get a tape ready. I got to figure out what to play in case something happens to me on the air. Maybe we should take, callers on that one. What tape should we play in case something happens to me? The last minutes of the Savage. I am in a dark place right now, ladies and gentlemen. A place that I am in that is not really painful in any way. And 'tis a far, far better place that I go than I've ever been. But I'll tell you this, yesterday at 3 o'clock I woke up from a nap and I wrote this. If floors had locks, I'd seal mine shut to keep from falling into hell. That's why I said when the day began it was a dark day, and I tweeted that out. Well, tomorrow's another day. Let's hope it's better than today.
Savage.